Imagine this. You are walking through your daily life, smiling at the right moments, saying the right words, fulfilling every role that society expects of you. To the outside world, you look composed, maybe even successful. But somewhere deep inside, there's a silence you don't want to face. A silence that feels like it is watching you, waiting for the moment you lower your guard. You tell yourself you are in control. You make rational choices, you have goals, you have plans. But what if I told you that much of what you call yourself is not you at all? What if the voice that pushes you forward, the fear that holds you back, and even the desires you chase with so much energy? What if all of them belong not to your conscious self, but to something hidden, something buried? Carl Jung called it the shadow. Not just the dark impulses you deny, but the unacknowledged parts of you. Your repressed anger, your secret envy, your forbidden desires, your hidden talents you abandoned long ago. Think about it. How much of your life is shaped not by what you consciously choose, but by what you refuse to confront? Have you noticed how often you sabotage yourself at the very edge of success? Or how you keep repeating the same patterns in relationships, no matter how much you swear you've learned your lesson? Do you ever wonder why anxiety strikes when everything seems fine? Or why emptiness sneaks in even when you're surrounded by comfort? Isn't it disturbing that the very things you hide from others, the things you're ashamed of, the things you've buried, may actually hold the key to your destiny? What if the path you are running from is the very path you were meant to walk? This is the paradox. The more you deny your shadow, the more it rules your life. The more you try to look good, the more you become a stranger to yourself. And in that estrangement, you risk living an entire life that never truly belonged to you. So here is the ultimate question, the one that will haunt you if you dare to let it in. What if your shadow is not your enemy, but your hidden compass, the very force that can reveal the purpose of your life? And if that is true, how long will you keep running from yourself? You see, the danger of the shadow is not that it hides in darkness. Its danger is that it acts while you look away. It whispers in your choices, it shapes your desires, it sabotages your promises, all without ever asking for your permission. The shadow is not silent. It speaks through your habits, your tone of voice, the dreams you dismiss in the morning. And the more you insist, "That's not me," the stronger it becomes. Carl Jung warned that what you resist not only persists, but grows in power. Your conscious mind likes to think it is the king, the sovereign decision maker. But the unconscious, the realm of instincts, forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, operates like a hidden government, writing laws you don't know exist, laws you nonetheless obey every single day. Think of your shadow as a reservoir of energy. When you deny your anger, that energy doesn't disappear. It twists itself into passive aggression, into bitterness, into illness. When you refuse to acknowledge your envy, it returns as gossip, as judgment, as the silent urge to see others fail. And when you suppress your creativity, your unlived potential, it returns as depression, as the dull ache of something is missing. Philosophers saw this long before psychology gave it a name. Schopenhauer believed that behind the facade of reason lies the will, blind, irrational, endlessly craving. Nietzsche went further. He saw that much of what we call morality is simply fear in disguise, a system we built to protect ourselves from our own impulses. And yet, by denying those impulses, we lose the vitality of life itself. Isn't this the tragic irony? The very parts of yourself you exile, the rage, the desire, the despair, are not random intruders. They are fragments of your own soul, demanding integration. But because you've been taught to fear them, you spend your life in battle with yourself. Look at modern society, the culture of endless productivity, the obsession with perfection, the demand to be positive at all costs. What does it produce? A collective shadow so massive that it spills into politics, into social media, into families. We hide our insecurities with consumerism. We disguise our emptiness with distractions. We medicate our grief with substances and screens. And then we wonder, why are anxiety and depression spreading like wildfire? You are told to be authentic, yet punished the moment your authenticity doesn't fit the script. You are told to follow your passion, yet ridiculed if your passion doesn't generate profit. The result? A fractured self, half performing for approval, half suffocating in silence. And here's the most unsettling truth. The shadow doesn't just shape your emotions, it shapes your destiny. Because the choices you never make, the risks you never take, the talents you never claim, they all gather in the dark, waiting. And the longer they wait, the more they twist. What begins as unacknowledged pain can turn into self-sabotage. What begins as hidden desire can turn into destructive obsession. So the question grows darker. If you don't confront your shadow, are you truly living your life? Or are you simply acting out a script written by the parts of yourself you refuse to see? The most terrifying prisons are not made of iron bars, but of invisible walls built inside your mind. The shadow is one such prison. You can't see it, you can't touch it, yet it dictates your life with merciless precision. Think about the relationships you've had. How many of them collapsed not because of the other person's flaws, but because of your unacknowledged wounds? You push people away when they get too close, then feel abandoned when they leave. You demand loyalty while secretly fearing betrayal. You crave intimacy, but the moment it appears, you suffocate under the weight of vulnerability. All of this feels like bad luck, but it is the choreography of your shadow. Pulling strings in silence. Or consider your ambitions. You might think you're chasing success out of passion or discipline, but look closer. How much of your drive is fueled by shame, the need to prove you're worthy? How much of your work ethic is fear disguised as responsibility? The tragedy is that the higher you climb, the more fragile you become. Because you're not climbing toward your true calling. You're climbing to escape the shadow you refuse to face. And the consequences do not end with the individual. Entire societies are haunted by collective shadows. Look at the obsession with progress. We tell ourselves we are advancing, innovating, becoming freer. Yet beneath the glitter lies exhaustion, alienation, and ecological collapse. We glorify consumption as identity, technology as salvation, productivity as virtue. But what are these, if not collective defenses against our own emptiness? The shadow operates through cognitive biases too. Confirmation bias. You only see what agrees with your mask, ignoring the signals of your deeper self. Projection. You condemn in others the very qualities you cannot admit in yourself. Denial. You insist you're fine while your body screams through insomnia, tension, disease. These biases don't just distort your perception. They trap you in a loop, a self-reinforcing cycle where the shadow tightens its grip with every denial. The danger lies in how ordinary it all feels. You think, this is just life. Everyone feels anxious. Everyone is tired. Everyone scrolls through their phone to numb the void. But is that really life? Or is that the slow anesthesia of a society that has surrendered to its shadow? Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That is the cruelest consequence of all, the belief that you are powerless, that your suffering is destiny. You begin to mistake your prison for your home. And if enough people live this way, what kind of world is created? A world of citizens too distracted to notice their freedom slipping away. A world of workers so anxious they never question the system. A world of families repeating the same silent traumas across generations. The invisible becomes structural. The shadow becomes civilization itself. You may already feel it in your own life, that sense of being carried by currents you didn't choose, repeating patterns you never consented to, living a story that doesn't feel like yours. And yet, without confronting the shadow, you will keep calling it my life, even as it slowly devours you. So ask yourself, How much of your existence is truly chosen? And how much of it is the invisible consequence of everything you refuse to face? If the shadow is the prison, then rebellion begins not with smashing the walls, but with daring to look at them. The first act of freedom is not conquest, it is recognition. You cannot defeat what you deny. You can only transform what you are brave enough to face. Carl Jung called this process shadow work. It is not glamorous. It will not earn applause. It often feels like betrayal of the very identity you've worked so hard to protect. Because shadow work demands that you admit, I am not only what I show the world, I am also everything I hide, everything I fear, everything I've tried to bury. At first, this feels unbearable. You may resist. If I admit my anger, won't it consume me? If I face my envy, won't it poison me? If I open the door to my desires, won't they destroy me? But the paradox is this: what you repress controls you. What you confront, you reclaim. History gives us examples of this rebellion. Nietzsche urged us to embrace the parts of ourselves that society calls unacceptable, to transmute them into creativity, power, and vitality. Dostoevsky plunged into the darkest depths of human suffering, and from that abyss gave birth to stories that illuminate the human condition more than any shallow optimism ever could. Even spiritual traditions, from Buddhism to Taoism, speak of the necessity to integrate opposites, the light and the dark, the sacred and the profane. Think of shadow work as alchemy. Lead becomes gold, but only when it is burned, broken down, and recombined. Your fear, when acknowledged, becomes courage. Your envy, when faced, becomes ambition with clarity. Your anger, when honored, becomes the fire that sets boundaries and protects your dignity. What once looked like a monster becomes a source of strength. But here's the catch. No one can do this work for you. Not your family, not your therapist, not even your culture. They can guide you, but only you can turn toward the mirror and not look away. Only you can say, "This too is me." And in that moment of rebellion, you begin to notice something astonishing. The shadow was never trying to destroy you, it was trying to wake you. Your nightmares were lessons. Your sabotages were warnings. Your pain was a signal. Pay attention. Something in you is waiting to be lived. You realize freedom is not found in perfection, but in wholeness. To live as a fragmented self is to live as a slave. To live as an integrated self is to live as a creator of destiny. So the question now shifts. No longer, what if my shadow ruins me? But rather, what if my shadow is the very map I've been searching for? Rebellion begins the moment you stop running. What if the purpose of your life is not to become perfect, but to become whole? For so long, you have been told that the path to fulfillment is through polishing yourself, cutting away flaws, silencing doubts, performing virtues. You've been told to fix yourself like a broken machine. But you are not a machine. You are a living paradox. You are both light and dark, creation and destruction, tenderness and rage. The final truth is this: the shadow you feared is not a curse. It is the missing half of your soul. Without it, you are incomplete. With it, you are powerful. The destiny you long for will not be found by fleeing from your shadow, but by embracing it as the companion you have ignored for too long. Jung understood this when he said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." You don't awaken by painting yourself brighter. You awaken by carrying a lantern into your own abyss. And when you do, you begin to see what you had missed all along. Your deepest wounds carry your deepest gifts. Your recurring failures contain the lesson that defines your freedom. The patterns you hated in yourself reveal the blueprint of who you truly are. Imagine looking at your shadow and realizing, this is not my enemy, this is my teacher. How different would your life become if every fear was a lesson, every flaw a key, every mistake a compass? Suddenly, life stops being something you endure. It becomes something you shape, something you claim. This is the ultimate rebellion, not against the world, but against the false self that kept you small. To live without shadow is to live as half a being. To live with shadow integrated is to live as destiny itself. Look around you. Most people will keep running. They will drown in distractions, medicate their emptiness, bury their pain beneath masks of success. But you have the chance to stop, to turn inward, to ask the question most people never dare to ask. What if the darkness inside me is not death, but the birthplace of my true life? The answer will not arrive all at once. It will arrive in fragments, in a dream you finally listen to, in a moment of anger you refuse to dismiss, in a desire you allow yourself to honor. Piece by piece, you gather yourself back from exile, and one day you look in the mirror and realize you are no longer at war with yourself. That is the moment destiny begins. So here is the truth you cannot unhear. Your shadow is not the end of you. It is the beginning. The only question left is, will you dare to begin? Thank you for watching.